Are you hard stuck in your rank and unable to make improvements in your gameplay? Well, I've combined a bunch of useful tricks and tips that have helped me over the time playing Valorant. The first tip I'd like to talk about is combat. Valorant's combat is a lot more slow-paced, and a lot of people, including me, always blame things like aim for simple mistakes. While aim is important, there are 4 more things that are even more important in Valorant's combat system. Crosshair placement, how you pick an angle, isolating 1v1s, and gun hygiene. Crosshair placement in short is making sure your crosshairs always at head height. But there are some mistakes higher ranked players make, including me. Make sure before picking an angle to reset and make sure you're aiming at head height. This allows you to effectively get more headshots, making it easier so you don't have to flick every time on your enemies. There are also many ways to pick an angle, being wide swing, jiggle peek, and standard peeking. Wide swinging being a very high risk and high reward play is often used to throw off someone's crosshair placement. When wide swinging, you never want to make micro adjustments and you swing until your crosshair has reached their head. Never do it if there's more than one person. Always make sure you're in a 1v1 because chances are 3 people will just spray you dead. Jiggle peeking is extremely useful for gathering information, and when in fighting situations makes you a hard target to hit. But it also makes it hard for you to kill your opponent if you don't know where they are. Always make sure you're pre-aiming the angle when you're jiggle peeking, because it makes it easier to kill your opponent. Now standard peeking is similar to jiggle peeking, but it's when you're committed to a fight. Make sure you're always isolating 1v1, because as stated previously, you're likely to die getting 1 or even none. One common thing in Valorant is to always isolate on 1v1. Make sure you're playing in such a way where you're not putting yourself at a disadvantage. Here's an example.
Hard defense. Letting her hold out.
Party's over.
One side, one side.
Rachel's 30.
Enemy remaining.
Thank you.
Nice.
Nice.
It's not the best ace, but it still shows how I isolate my 1v1s. Since Killjoy used her mollies, I know I can peek off any aggressors and catch them by surprise. Doing this gave me 2 easy picks, which allowed me to get another get out of jail free card, being my dash. Brim would smoke and I would ready a dash to get another pick. Another way to isolate 1v1s is to instead actually make it unfair on the enemy team, which is double peeking. Here's an example of me and Zach doing this in action. Full back Zach, try full back.
Here.
Well, me Zach, come me, come
Oh
to
my
me,
god, that shit's bored, bro.
Ready? We can't fire this shit. We can't fire.
3, 2, 1, kick.
One enemy remaining.
Another way of achieving these advantages is also holding a crossfire, which is essentially the same effect as double peeking, but instead it's more so holding that angle instead of peeking it. For my next tip, I would like to recommend to watch Valorant pros or coaches. People like Wahujin's a very good example because he actually teaches you how to play the game and what to think about when playing the game. An example of things that I learned from him is when we didn't have a smoke on my team and we had to come up with our own unique plan to defeat the enemy team. We played around that disadvantage and figured out a way to access things like mid and have like all control of the map, which gave us a huge advantage in the endgame because we ended up winning. But there is one reason we achieved this win in the first place, being our comms and set game plans for the start of the round. Let's say we had 2 ults being Jet Knives and Breach ult. These ults pair very well together due to Jet's insane mobility, element of elevation, and the fact that the enemy can cuss, making these ults a great duo. Instead of keeping silent and not acknowledging these ults, we should create a set game plan with our whole team. This is where we can set up a fast execute or a slow execute. Even just getting information is enough to make the game play out for your own benefit, as shown in this clip.
We're so quiet on B. Can you come with me?
Me?
Yeah. Sorry, just quiet
You ready up?
2, 1, go, go!
One on side. Nice.
shit.
2 side.
1. I'm wanting that off now! Get.
In this clip, Reyna had full control of mid due to Reyna and I destroying the wall mid every round to cause more pressure, which made the Sage wall deeper into heaven. This was a blunder on their part, as Jet was left alone to defend and I was able to catch 2 rotators with their pants down. The next big recommendation is to heavily learn how to play maps to its max, learning all the off and on angles, the gimmicks of the map such as free sites or TPs, and how to structure a proper attack or defense. This is something you learn over time and something you can learn watching map analysis and coaches on YouTube. A lot of you might not know what an off and on angle is, so let me explain. An on angle is one of the common angles where an enemy can anticipate where you are, but an off angle is something that has some sort of element of surprise. When playing an on angle, make sure you're always jiggle peeking, as players have peeker's advantage. Well, what is peeker's advantage? Peeking advantage is what it sounds like, but why is that? Essentially, the peeker will see a hold before the holder even sees the peeker, furthermore making it harder for a holder to react. So how do we beat this? As stated before, make sure you counter this movement by jiggle peeking. This makes it easier to anticipate your enemy. Well, we can't talk about off and on angles without talking about one and done angles. One and done angles can be used in extremely advantageous ways, if played correctly, but for the most part are usually a spot that grants you only one kill. Paired with trigger discipline is where the angles becomes extremely advantageous. This isn't a one and done spot, but here's the trigger discipline clip from my friend Zach.
Spike down, attacker spawn. One enemy remaining.
Right there, get it.
Now, for your final answer, why are you hardstuck? Maybe you already know all these tips and you still can't seem to overcome your rank. This usually comes down to you as a player, such as autopiloting, not communicating enough to your team, and not having a set idea each round. I learned the hard way, as the performance would be 100 times better when I would openly communicate strategic ideas to my team and play the game of chess rather than the game of musical chairs. Question yourself and how you play the game, and actually review what went wrong and how you could have played that round better. It's not always your team's fault. There's the fault that you made as well throughout that round.